and welcome to the Jonesin on the Whim NFC East preview. Our top 11 for our 14th podcast.
That's right.
Count it up.
Yes. In parallel with our 14th podcast.
Yes. 4 is a special number for me. We went over that in the 4th podcast.
14 is a special number to me. Born on the 14th.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's the bromance continues. And as we wanted to go through every division one a week, we dive into the NFC East. And question 1 of the top 11: why does this New York Giants team seem like the least talked about defending Super Bowl champion in quite some time, if not ever? And
well, welcome back. I made it. Alive, unstabbed, everything's fine. I had a blast. Anyway, the Giants, they backed their way in. In the last 5 or 6 years, one of the Super Bowl teams, if not both of the teams that were playing, was always like a back your way in and then playing against some team that's supposed to be great and magical. And it's been like 50-50 depending on who ended up winning those games. So they backed in. The Cowboys fell apart. It was a lot of things that happened. And then with any team that's not a great team that ends up winning the Super Bowl, they needed luck. They needed magical plays. They needed drops. They needed the fumbles in the San Francisco game. And they needed to get lucky and even draw San Francisco because, as we've all discussed repeatedly, they would have gotten murdered if they would have had to go to the Dome. So
the Dome.
The Merc Dome.
So they would have gotten murked in the Dome. And then even if you look at the last few, I mean, the Packers were 10-6. They didn't win that division. They drew Atlanta. We call that. That was that 48-21 Saturday night murder that we saw. They got Cutler hurt in the NFC game that got them to the Super Bowl. And, I mean, that happened. Now, the only team out of all of these that I'm even going to go through, and it's because of bias, I mean, the Saints were 13-3, but you remember how they ended the season, and there was a lot of doubt on them. Yeah. And they needed some fairy magic pony dust to get them through the NFC Championship game.
We probably do something to run us out of the
Yeah, laying wood,
right.
all that stuff.
Right.
And, I mean, you remember that game. We needed the Brett Favre interception.
No, certainly.
And
luck. So you're saying luck plays.
A lot of stuff played into it. But you're talking about a 13-3 team. With the Packers,
right.
There was a lot of romance going for Rodgers. The Steelers had the Steeler mystique, and they were 12-4, and they needed they had the pick six, the 100-yard pick six on Sweet Kurt Warner. And shut your mouth. Shut up.
We love you, Kurt.
We love you, Kurt. Sweet Kurt Warner.
Somebody has to.
And then even the last Giants team, they were 10-6, and you know who they beat, and you know what the expectation they were going to get worked in that game. And then you know my hate for the 2006 Colts. They were 12-4. They were another one of those 10-win teams, but I go over that run all the time. They had the worst run defense like in the history of run defenses, and they played two good rushing teams, and for some reason they didn't run the ball. They played KC, then they played Baltimore, and McNair had those 3 horrible drives. And Pats had the drop-a-thon game where we had Caldwell making all the drops that made them go get Welker and Moss. And, I mean, these teams that have won the Super Bowl, what I'm saying is outside of the Saints, those teams had their flaws, but there was something about them that made people love them. They had a star. They had something going. Right. This Giants team didn't have that.
Right, and that's a good segue into my point is they don't have any personalities.
No.
Even their quarterback's an all-shucks guy. Worst Saturday Night Live performance I've ever seen.
That's horrible.
His brother did one of the best I've ever seen.
Yes.
In contrast. But, and they did back in, per se. And even Vegas at this point, for this year, has them, they're over under at 8.5. And you know what? That's 9 or 8 we'll get to that. But,
I mean, our talked a lot about, it takes a combination of being good and lucky. And sometimes there's a little more of one than the other.
Yeah.
To win the Super Bowl. But they were outscored last year. By 6 points overall.
Think about it.
They were the first Super Bowl
bringing the
winner,
stats.
I think,
Love that.
to be outscored.
Beautiful.
And they did have some injury problems that, kind of
we'll get to that.
The defense early, and they were definitely putting it together toward the end of the season. But overall, the body of work just wasn't there.
Right.
And like you said, lack of personalities, lack of trash talking, like, oh yeah, now we got to
they quietly take care of business
on our back. And there's been no bullshit like that, so it's to their credit.
And what we didn't
keeping that quiet.
And what we didn't talk about is they're not even the most talked about team in their own city. The Jets are such a soap opera.
Yes.
So that I think is a big part of it too.
Yeah.
And you alluded to injuries, and on the defense, which is. It's a segue to the number 2, is the Giants' defense was 27th in the league last season, in the regular season. 27th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, they dropped their total yards given up by 50, and that was good for 3rd overall. Quite a difference. But the question is, how did they do that, and what should we expect from this defense in 2012? And for me, you're right. Injuries is right. 3 season injuries to a couple starters. The two first draft picks got hurt early on. They were penciled in for a lot of playing time, and Justin Tuck battled injuries all year. They got it together. They beat the Jets in December, and it fixed everything.
Umanura was hurt quite a bit too.
Right, he was
he was playing money games and then showed up hurt too.
Right, and so they fixed it because they got healthy. They got consistent.
And then they had some nice matchups too.
Right.
Some one-dimensional offenses with the type of talent they have on their defensive line, with the cycling people in and out, and everybody got healthy. When you show up in the playoffs and you're one-dimensional and you got that type of talent looking at you on the defensive side, they can shut you down. And that's pretty much what I saw happen.
So what do we see for them this season?
I think talent-wise, they're middle of the pack.
Yep.
And, if they really overachieve, they could maybe crack the top 10. But, I'm looking for somewhere around 15 for them.
Yeah, and that's fair because their division alone has wide explosive offenses, and they also play Pittsburgh, Green Bay, Atlanta, and Carolina. They can
roll up some points.
Right.
Yeah.
So
they may not beat you, but
right, exactly. So injuries in the beginning fixed it. Speech that I'll talk about later. Super Bowl champs this year, kind of a marginal drop back from going from 27 to 3, but they'll in the middle.
They shouldn't be 27.
No, that shocked me when I saw that. Then that brings me to another shocking revelation about this division, and this number 3 on the list. The Eagles were a team that 4th overall in offense, total offense, 8th in total defense. But only managed 8 wins, and they needed to win their last 4 to get to 8.
When it didn't matter.
Right. I need explanation for this too. Is this a good team, 2012, or a statistical anomaly? I don't.
It was a good team, and it's one of those things. You give up 3 or 4 50-yard plays, or you give up a 50-yard play every game, it's going to throw your stats off, and that's what they were doing. And so
But the 8th overall in defense.
So because once they got it fixed for that second half of the season, they stopped giving away those 50-yard plays, and now you got a good defense. And I think that's sometimes how you get the stats to lie to you, because you look at the overall numbers, and that doesn't show you the 80-yard Steven Jackson touchdown, when Steven Jackson doesn't get 80-yard touchdowns anymore.
Right.
But he got one on them.
Right.
And everybody was cracking open those big gains on them. Once they got that under wraps, stopped giving up the big plays, it makes a big difference in your overall numbers.
And the 4 games they won in a row, they weren't against world beaters, by the way.
I was wondering that.
They beat Miami, they beat the Jets and Dallas, who were both already spiraling out of control.
Yeah, they were.
And then the Redskins, who were, the Redskins. So I would even take those 4 wins. I discredit that.
Yeah.
And they were 5th in rushing overall. But with Vic as your quarterback, that pads those stats.
And McCoy.
Right. Well, no, McCoy is solid. But I'm saying, but also, it kind of makes it an anomaly for me, offensively, with Vic running the ball, too. That doesn't equate to wins, obviously. They were 8-8 and needed 4 to get there at the end of the season. And 9th on offense, they were down a lot early in the year. Chucking the ball. Mm-hmm. And Vince Young had 2 400-yard games against your Patriots. Against So that also, the offense, anomaly for me. Defense, I think that's a little high, but it's about right. The defense is solid. The linebacker unit is a disaster, but they fixed that. We'll get to that too.
Yeah, but still, if you're scratching the top 10 in both offense and defense, let's say they're a little worse, this year, you should still be a 10-16.
Right. Well, the Chargers did this. The Chargers did this 2 years ago.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
9-7, 8-8, and they didn't make playoffs either. So
Yeah.
we've seen it before, but the talent is there, and
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the breaks don't go your way, and so I expect that to even out over time. But
they caused turnovers. They were creating turnovers.
if it doesn't even out, then I start to look at the coaching and say, okay, what the hell's going on? Are you guys just beating up on lame
Right,
opponents and losing to
yeah.
the decent ones by a few points?
We're about to get to Andy Reid, but they were 9th in the league in forced turnovers,
Yeah.
and 24th in plays from scrimmage, playing on the field in defense. So that's why the number,
So they were rested
the yard,
and-
right,
and
and the
effective.
yards were lower. That's why they were 8th. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. That's why there's statistics to put behind what actually happened, and I probably should have looked at how many times they turned the ball over, because that had to play a role in only winning 8 games.
They were bad about that. And they
So-
had
I know Vince
bad,
was bad
ugly.
about
They
that.
had ugly
Right.
turnovers. Like they had pick sixes, or you had to tackle a guy on the 8 to stop it from being a pick six, or
Right.
a fumble recovery for a touchdown.
Exactly.
They had bad turnovers.
And you fucked anyway, so. Yeah.
And that makes sense. And then going forward for 2012, a big tragedy last weekend with Andy Reid's son passing away at training camp. What impact will that have on this team for this season coming up?
Yeah, I didn't know much about the kid before I heard about the death, but apparently he was a part of the team. He wasn't just Reed's son hanging around.
Right.
He
Coaching a little bit.
Yeah.
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 Very involved.
So it's more than just the effect it'll have on Reed. It's the effect that it could have on the players as well. I mean, it's tough to foresee how people are going to respond to that. They could be inspired by it, or they could just be total zombies.
Right.
This season. So I'm going to say I don't know.
and
To that question.
And that's fair, but I think it's huge, because I don't see a leader on this team. I mean, honestly, Andy Reid's the head coach, but his son had his issues in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Andy, and I don't want to be harsh here, but he couldn't lead his own family, obviously. So how's he going to lead 50 men after this kind of tragedy, no less?
Yeah.
And so going forward, the lack of leadership, it's going to be a huge impact. D'Amico Ryans could be that guy for them, as he was in Houston.
Sure.
But this is huge. This is your son passing away. You can only hide from that for so long.
Yeah.
It's a huge impact, and that's why they won't win as many games for us. I think that's a part of it going forward.
And see, my thought is that even in spite of all of that, sometimes you have the type of season that just doesn't go anywhere near it's supposed to go the way it's supposed to go, because
like
the
after a
wrong
big
guy
hurricane
ends
hits
up
your
on a
city, and
yeah, like a guy ends up on a card. People don't play as well as they should have played. You got dudes on the bench calling your team a dream team, and then Vic misses his month.
Whoops.
And like all of this stuff goes wrong, and then they still get fancy football stats all over the place, so you end up 4th and
obviously,
8.
right.
But yeah, they draw the right teams at the end to get up to 8-8, but that team was a disaster last year. Now they get a full camp this time. Maybe they look back and they say, look, now we got to 8-8, but let's be serious.
Bitch slap to
We
Deshaun
shit the
Jackson.
bed. We shit the bed last year. We need to get this right. We need to look at who we got. We're in this sloppy division where if you act right and play right, 2 out of every 3 weeks you're in this
Battle tested.
all the way to the end. And so I think they take this and they roll with it. I think they're going to be better off. I think they're going to be better off than they were last year, because last year they were coming off of Jim Johnson.
Right.
And that people don't talk about that either.
Right, and that didn't, yeah.
That was you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's 2 years, I think, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, that's a good point. And defensive coordinator, we'll get to that too. I'll mention that in a bit.
Yeah.
But on to the darlings of this division.
Oh,
Allegedly.
Darling.
Kevin, you're Dallas Cowboys.
Oh.
There's a lot of questions on this team. Receiver, because they're jackasses. Well, one of them is a jackass. Running backs, we don't know if they're healthy. Tony Romo is over-scrutinized. But I don't think any of this works if the offensive line doesn't work. Will the moves they've made there and the maturity along there be enough for this team to make the playoffs? Or return to the playoffs, but more so address what they've done?
They do a
at
lot.
the line.
They do a lot of catch up passing. So they ended up 7th in passing, but that's one of those that I don't 100% believe because Tony Romo is a heavyweight champion of 250 yards second half. Mm-hmm. I mean, I watched them do dick shit for an hour and a half, and then all of a sudden they start putting together.
Miles Austin missed some time,
and Miles Austin has hamstring issues.
Right.
Dez Bryant has Dez Bryant issues,
which is more than enough.
Jason Witten is old.
Lord Robinson's gone.
Yeah, Robinson is gone, and they haven't replaced him yet. They were talking to Plaxico. That's scary.
No, you're right. It's definitely a makeshift unit, and at best, it's
from top to bottom.
And it's made up of undrafted free agents and unrealized potential. So remember those days when the Cowboys' offensive line was the best?
Yes.
And
Larry Allen,
right?
Eric Williams,
but it's distant. It's the distant past.
Yeah.
And I don't think it changes. And yes, it's going to be an issue going forward. Their biggest issue.
Yeah, this is the worst group of talent Romo has had to show up with.
Yeah.
And I'm on Romo. I think Romo's all right. He's a little bit too much of the all shucks to be on this type of team because he probably needs to be that to not lose his mind on this team.
Right. Fair enough.
But he shows up with that all shucks look on his face and he throws 3 what the fuck passes in a row and he still got that same all shucks look on his face. He might do a little fist clench, but then he's back out there doing the same thing the next play. And this team probably needs somebody with a little bit more of, hey, you run another bad route, I'm gonna choke you.
Right.
You show
I
up
don't
here
want to be
looking
your
like
best
you're not.
friend. I want to be your quarterback.
Yeah, you show up somewhere you looking like you're not ready to play. Me and you gonna have a problem. Right. I'm gonna get you at the bottom of an ESPN screen released if you keep messing around with me. I'm the Cowboy starting quarterback.
Right.
Quit fucking with me.
That's already a star.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with Romo. I mean, there's that killer edge it seems to be missing. You know, it's like losing doesn't seem to bother him quite enough for me. But he is a talented player, and
he's banging sweeties in the regular.
Yeah,
but now he's married.
More power to him.
Right. Well, he might still be banging.
Yeah,
well, never mind.
Why not? Just bang the whole country.
Right.
Of Sweden.
That was my role before. No,
horrible.
But I don't like the direction the offense is going. You know, I hear they're scrambling just to find 5 guys who can be on the line.
Nate Livings, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
And he's an LSU guy, and I have no faith.
So for their offense this season, I see Romo making some super highlight plays because he's going to have to by being flushed out of the pocket and chased all over the place. So, yeah, he's going to make SportsCenter and primetime a lot. But,
right. He'll be on the move.
I don't know that they're going to score as many points as they did last year, which wasn't even that many.
Right. And on the other side of the ball, the defense. My opinion, that front 7 is it's a top 10 unit, but that back 4 hasn't been. Will the improvements that they've made in that area make them a top 10 defense in 2012?
Top 10 is a little bit greedy. I'm just not sure about that. I mean, if you can get DeMarcus Ware healthy the whole time, obviously
even 50% is better than most.
Because he's pretty much going to ruin the offense of the other team.
Right.
Create double team
just
situations.
by being out there,
and at least make it a little bit easier for some of these guys. But again, they're coming into this season limping around with jokes and stuff. It doesn't look to be. It looks like they're not going to benefit from having a full camp. So I won't even be able to get to throw out that cliche. They look to be in shambles. They got more talent than they've had recently. I just don't know though. If I had to guess right now, I'd say no.
I definitely think it's a top 10 unit because it already had that beyond the secondary. I wrote the question, but the additions of Brandon Carr and who is a top 10 corner, and then Morris Claiborne, who if he's healthy will be a top 10 corner. Obviously, Mike Jenkins is hurt, but they've been trying to get rid of him for the last couple months, maybe seasons.
Well,
safety,
he's PUP now, right?
Right. So that's where they want him, but that front 7 is very strong, and they do lose Brady James. He's in Houston now, but he had a slightly limited role this past season. I think injury, whatever. But what they've done in that secondary, I think definitely propels them. If it's 10th, it's 10th, but they'll be a top 10 defense. Safety is their biggest hole. They should have signed someone, even if it was Jim Leonard or even Atari Bigby. We love Atari. It's someone, and they didn't. So especially with the tight ends in that division, but top 10 unit for sure. I think yards per game for me. I think
they're knocking on the door of top 10. I mean, I do like their defense. And, you know, you replace Terrence Newman with a sack of potatoes, that's an upgrade. And they replaced him with
Claiborne, right.
Yeah. So they're going to be a lot tougher to burn, I think, you know, as long as the safeties aren't stupid.
Sensabaugh is a veteran.
Yeah, he's experienced. Yeah. And is the other one...
I don't know.
Barry Church.
I have no idea. Yeah, I've never heard of him.
I'm not
sure.
So...
But, they should have signed someone.
It should be pretty good, and I think, you know, foreshadowing to our records, I think it'll be good enough to counteract a lot of the offense's shortcomings.
I think the offense is going to be fun, too.
But see, that's why I'm scared, because of this offense. And then if you look a little bit back into their rushing game, I mean, they had some outrageous 200-yard DeMarco Murray
has
games.
To be healthy, but against the Rams and such. So
so I think they ended up middle of the pack even with that considered.
Right.
You take those games out and just see where they landed. They couldn't stay on the field in the first half.
Jason Garrett's the biggest issue, but I'll go coach him. I'll do it for free. But enough on the Cowboys for me. Anyway, we go enough down to the Redskins, a guy we love to hate. They were 5-11 team last year, and I thought he'd been there longer than 2 years, but they're regressing under the rat face Shanahan.
He's only been there 2 years.
I thought it was longer too. So there you go.
Feels that way to the fans.
So it's just do or die for the rat face.
Shouldn't it be, right? It's got to be, right?
At $7 million a year, it certainly should be.
Yeah, but isn't it like how long's the contract?
5 years. It's a 5-year deal. And Daniel Snyder does throw money around. He does. But even $14 million to walk away, it's even egregious for him. So
I think he'll probably get another shot, especially if, you know, they make a modest improvement this year. They don't have to go 10-6,
and he's got the rookie quarterback excuse.
A
position he's supposed to mold.
Right.
Allegedly.
So,
I mean,
I think even if they come out and go 5-11 again, Shanahan probably gets a pass.
Right. And at a $7 million price tag a year, winning season should be expected. Yeah. Maybe not playoffs, but
playoffs.
Hey, right. It's not my money. But
didn't do diddly poo.
Right. Oh yeah. Anyway, that's enough. I don't want to talk about it anymore. But somebody I do want to talk about is RG3. Yes. One of the more talked about and endorsed rookies in quite some time, really. I mean, he got endorsements right after the college football season ended. What should we, and what do we expect from him this season? Take Shanahan out.
I can't take Shanahan out. I think Shanahan is the Cleveland Browns.
Right?
He's the Cleveland Browns of coaching.
Right.
Like, he poisons talent. But yeah, RG3 looks to be kind of set up. And the other thing too is, coming off of that last season, I'm really kind of scared about the way people are treating everything coming into this year as far as the rookies go. Because last year you had short camps and everything kind of it was just a really weird season.
But Dalton and Newton were very successful.
But the stats I felt like were a little bit overblown compared to what they're going to be this year. I still think it's going to be a pass happy league. I still think if you touch a receiver, they're going to call it. And these
barring we get our officials back.
These referees, my God. I've watched a few.
No, it's bad. It's bad.
They need to call us.
It's right. Anyone else?
They need to call us because
anyone else.
Touch back on the 5. Oh.
Right.
Anyway,
no, it's a 4, but
defense, 25-yard penalty.
It was really
Arizona.
Really
it's
bad.
Atlanta. What are you talking about? I think RG3 is going to have a decent year, but I think he's going to have more of a rookie type year where he's going to look awesome a couple of weeks, and then some weeks he's not going to look so good. It's going to be more like maybe like a low budget version of what happened with Cam last year.
Right, and I agree. And I think he's smarter than those other two guys. I mean, he graduated in 3 years at Baylor.
He's probably smarter than all of us.
No, well, I mean, that's putting him pretty smart. But no, I mean, I do. He comes into this the best situation, but better than them, at least mentally. But they do. What am I? No, what I'm saying.
Look, this team has pieces, but their coach is a piece. And
piece of
he's a piece.
Crap.
And it's the thing that I did want to mention about this that's kind of funny is how RG3 now the guy who got picked first is the other dude now.
Well, no.
He's like, hey, who's this other guy that got picked and he replaced
it's him or Luck for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, but he's the other guy now.
Right.
Like, oh, where's he at?
But that works out well for him.
Yeah, I think he has a better year than people expect too. The other
37, I think 3,700 yards.
The other, well, we're talking about the other guy now.
No, well, both of them. I think.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be the closest Rookie of the Year voting in quite some time because
I think
they're both gonna have.
kids.
They're both gonna be fine.
They're both good kids.
really smart.
And I'm pulling for both of them.
Right, of course, and because they don't bother, they're over there. And we get RG3 week 1, so
I'm not worried about RG3 because he's a talented enough person that if football doesn't work
honorable
out,
every semester at Baylor.
fine.
This kid is bright. He was going to go to law school.
Yeah, I mean, so in that sense,
don't see him as a brown man. See him as a smart man.
I would say that the pressure is not really on him, from that perspective. I mean, he doesn't need football.
Right.
So,
right.
But he's still committed to it, and I think I like the work ethic, and
dedicated.
He adds a lot to this offense, which
needed a quarterback. Be honest.
Who was their number 1 running back too? Was that Halou or
we don't talk about
They just drafted a guy.
They're running.
The
guy
guy
have Halou, Hightower, and
Royster. The guy they just drafted is going to end up starting.
Shanahan runs running backs more than he runs quarterbacks. So
yeah.
He ruins my eyes for having to watch him.
So now,
coach.
So a few weapons, in the passing game.
Garcon, Santana Moss. I love Santana Moss. We love Fred Davis.
And now Santana Moss.
We'll get to him.
Yeah,
but
he's getting closer to being what he needs to be now. Because you can't have Santana Moss your number 1 receiver in 2012.
Well,
but if he's your 2, and it looks like he's about to be a 2.
If he's quietly your 1,
Yeah, and you got other things.
Sneaky 1,
yeah.
right.
But he was their 1 and only for the last couple of years.
Forever.
And that's scary.
Right. And I love Banks, and I love, the punt return. Yeah. But, after my previous brain fart, we'll try to get focused here. Number 9.
Phew, that one stunk.
Right? It was bad. I was just looking at too many words on the page. But as we do every week, number 9 is MVP, offensive defense. Not exactly the most valuable per se, but for these teams to succeed,
most interesting,
right? Who needs to step up or be great on each side of the ball? And we'll start with the Giants.
They were horrible running the ball last year. They got rid of.
Were they?
They got rid of Cheetos. Yeah, they're fine. Whatever.
Chewbacca thinks otherwise.
They got rid of the Cheetos last year.
Right, but I don't think it was a problem.
But, they were counting on him before, and now it was him and Bradshaw. And, Bradshaw, you never know. He's playing on a broken this or a hurt that. And now they got a few other kind of replacement-type backs just in case he ends up screwing the pooch on them this year. And I'm looking at Bradshaw, though, because he has to be something for them. I mean, rushing, they were 32nd. They were last.
Wow.
Last in rushing. I thought it was that bad. I just need to look it up to make sure.
They were worse than Washington?
Somehow. So, man, they have to get that together to give Eli and those guys a chance to get this stuff together because these receivers are going to have a lot of attention on them this year.
Nick's isn't even healthy.
Nick's isn't healthy, and Victor Cruz is going to get...
The salsa dances on.
He's going to get eyes on him because you're talking about a guy that pretty much started maybe 12 or 13 games.
It's okay. They have Ruben Randa from LSU.
Oh, that Ruben Randa.
Worth 5 wins. Right there.
Worth 5 wins. He was looking really good. But, I'm going with Bradshaw because I think the receiver's going to be good. I think Eli's going to be decent Eli. He'll have a couple games where he'll shit the bed, but he'll be okay.
And I Bradshaw was the easy... I wanted to say him, but they did draft David Wilson out of Virginia Tech, who was a stud, and they signed DJ Ware as well from the Jets, so he just crosses the street. But
he wasn't on the team last year.
They had Ware last year.
Right, but
he was that third down back.
Right, but so second year, right. But they did sign him. I didn't say when they signed him. I just said they signed him.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't believe the Jets let him go.
But
the Jets have
tight end for me on this team is a big role for them. Red zone and Mallard, he's gone. Y'all signed him and PUP'd him.
Right.
And then Beckham's hurt. Beckham was good. We didn't know who the hell he was a year ago, but but it's Bear, because I just wanted to say Bear. Bear Pasco, who's now starting as their tight end. Because a red zone. They need a red zone threat. They struggled in the red zone. Brandon Jacobs is gone, but he could fall into the end zone with his big ass.
And get up.
Right. So it's their tight end. It's Bear Pasco.
And then
or
who
Beckham for me.
You know who that backup is? It's Bennett from the Cowboys.
Right. No.
The Cowboys finally.
I don't mention him because
Martellus underachieving.
Yeah. He's
they finally gave up on him.
not only is he Maggie, he's worthless.
Yeah. They gave up a second round pick.
No. So I don't even acknowledge him because Boss is gone after a couple of years. Ballard's gone.
He's gonna end up playing.
Right. Well, this is why Bear is the man for me. Bear Pasco.
Go ahead.
Red zone.
I'll go with Wilson, the running back they drafted.
He's a great back.
Bradshaw can't carry the load by himself.
He's proven that. You're right.
So they need a solid number 2, and I think the passing game will kind of take care of itself.
That's fair.
It sucks not having a tight end, but
Bear.
yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Send a fullback out or something. I don't know, but yeah, I like Wilson.
All right. Well, who do you like on defense?
Who do I like on defense? Well, geez, with all the injuries last year,
I mean, they get Prince back this year, right?
Naka.
That was their first.
Amuka
That was their
Mara.
first overall pick. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so they drafted him
First
round
last year.
and
yeah.
he missed.
That was
most
one of the
season.
injuries. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Who do I got? I mean,
It's Ancho Roll. I mean,
the line's going to get shit done. And,
right.
Yeah.
Well, Roll gave everybody stern looks after they lost to the Redskins before they went on that 5-game winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
He stern looked them and said, "You know what? I don't know what the speech was. I wasn't in the room, but it's him. He gave the inspirational speech. They listened. Obviously, they won the next 5, including the Super Bowl over your Patriots. Mm-hmm. And he anchors the secondary that was 29th overall against the pass. So they need to pick their shit up.
Yeah.
So it's like a phone
and he's the guy.
Right. So, Ancho Roll, and he was great in Arizona. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because what you got, Roll, you got Webster, you got Prince. Hopefully, is going to be.
I want to say Webster, LSU, but
yeah, but
or Aaron Ross. PG.
Oops.
yeah, that's me. Yeah,
I think his wife ran the Olympics.
Yeah.
That doesn't make him any.
that doesn't help us at all.
What do we do?
We can't bang her. All right,
But yeah, that's fine
Roll.
with
You
me.
got Roll.
Yeah,
I can
it's
go
all
with
in
that.
that secondary.
Yeah.
And
All right.
Prince
Beat me
being
to it.
healthy.
Right, and so we move on to Philly offensively, and it's got to be Vic.
It's got to be Vic.
If he stays healthy,
Can he? What is the over under on games he's not?
12. I would say 12.
12.
12 to play. So over under not 6. 5.5. I mean, because there's no. I love Mike Kafka. I do, but he's not ready. Nick Foles.
Now he's
there's a
broke,
future.
he broke his wrist now
right.
too.
There's a future for Foles for me, but not yet. There's nobody behind him is even close. It's Vic, because McCoy is gonna dominate. The receivers are there. I love me some Tom Selleck, Brent Selleck, but yeah, it's Vic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Defensively, as I alluded to earlier,
D'Amico.
it's D'Amico. They need a leader. They need that linebacking core has been the worst for a while. He comes back into his traditional 4-3.
Yep.
Plays the middle linebacker. He's one of the best, and it's D'Amico. And not only will he do that on the field, he'll do it off. He can lead that team in so many ways. And I'm gonna miss him. I want to hug him.
Yeah, there's talent on this defense. And
there is.
They need somebody to tie it in. I mean, and he's
Trent
that
Cole,
guy.
and talent everywhere.
He's that
Secondary.
guy.
Yeah.
Like you said, maybe to give some stern looks and some ugly speeches.
Right.
Like, I watched y'all be shitty last year from Houston.
Right. There was no reason 8-8 for that.
Like,
team.
what are y'all
No
doing?
reason.
Like, it's laid out for you. You got to go take these games. Ain't nobody gonna win you a game just because you got video game talent. Like, you got to go out here and make that tackle. You got to go out here and be on that assignment. You got all this talent. You got all this money tied up in us. Let's make it right. And we get a ball to Vic. Vic is one random scamper away from 30 or 40 yards any given play. Yeah. Let's make that be a touchdown when he gets 30 yards this time.
Right. Yeah. It's just small things that they're not aware of.
Yeah.
You had the Texans jersey, so
I did. Yeah. I mean, D'Amico's a good pick. I also want to see Asamoah play like he's being paid.
Yeah.
For once.
See, I didn't like the way they had him lined up, so I kind of gave him a pass.
They went from man to man to zone, and he's more man.
Yeah, so it's not totally on him. But
no,
the team needs to figure out how to use him correctly.
Yeah.
And then
it goes back to leadership.
Yeah, but that's leadership and just execution.
Right. And you're right. No, that's fair.
And we ride on people for not watching the games, and Asamoah was a man-on-man beast type corner. Like, that was the way he was used in Oakland, and that's what got him paid, and then they brought him over there and wanted him to do other things. And he's like, well, guys,
this is not how I play.
Haven't you seen the film? Like, have you seen my films? Like, this isn't what I do. So I think they'll have that worked out. They'll have him lined up right, and he'll go back to being that. Because he does his little fair share of groping, too. I mentioned, I'm glad you got that in there, too.
Oh, of course, yeah. Them artisms in.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So, yeah, Asamoah does his fair share of groping, too. So, and I think they'll let him do that. And if they get off to a good start, they'll get more calls, and everything will go right, and they'll get some decent protection.
And we'll get to that record in a bit. But on to the Cowboys. Offensive for them. Like I said, I made the number 5, the question, the 5th of the top 5, the top 11. It was about the line, so I've got to say the line. You protect Tony, good things will happen. You don't, mistakes may happen.
Yeah,
you gotta shore that up, and it's the line for me. And you know what? I don't know. I don't have much faith. I don't know.
Yeah,
sorry, Kevin.
I'm going to assume that the line's going to be kind of poor, so then I'm going to say the
Fair
X
enough.
factor is how well Romo plays with that. You know, how much magic he can pull out of his hat.
Right.
Yeah,
that's fair. So Tony.
See, I like Tony, and
you and I.
I hate on Tony. I'm hard on Tony. I'm hard on Tony because I like him that much.
Right.
But the thing is, okay, let's assume that they put together a decent running back. Let's assume that Jason Witten actually gets to go out for a few routes and catches his normal 87 passes. Okay, now when Romo dances around and breaks 3 tackles and stiff arms a guy, and then he's rolling out, and Miles Austin falls on the ground because he's pulled his hamstring another damn time. Dez Bryant is going to either propel them or help screw them. And he's going to be the scapegoat for this season. It's already set up for it to be that way. One week he was slapping his mama, the next week he wasn't practicing. Like, they got him. The radar is on him. And if he can just show up that first, now they said he was in shape. But that doesn't say anything about him being in mental shape.
Right.
But at
that's
least
the only worry.
Well, see,
physical, I'm fine.
Well, see, I hadn't been fine on him physically either because it was clear he was Cheetoed up because he was a first half monster, and then the second half he was dropping.
I just thought he got bored
routes.
myself.
He'd get bored. He can't concentrate for that long. I don't know what was wrong, but they said it was a conditioning issue. And it's the most unforgivable thing for a wide receiver. You talk to those receivers on TV and they'll say, a receiver who's out of shape is a joke and doesn't deserve to be rostered up. And you're talking about a guy like Dez Bryant who's been called out for having conditioning issues.
Right.
That's a joke.
Right.
I got it on him.
Right.
Because he's going to have to be something close to what they hoped he would be.
Right, and Jerry Jones has already called him, the owner and the general manager has already called him out.
I'll let him go. I'll let him go if he screws me again this year. I don't blame him.
And on the defense, we talked about earlier.
It's all
top
secondary, right?
They could be a top 10 unit, but so who's MVP there? Brady James, LSU, was a big loss as a leader. Dan Connor fills in for him, just as a leader, just as that position. It's Dan Connor for me, just for those reasons.
I can see that secondary has to stop giving up big plays because it's clear that this offense could be the
playoff ready.
They're playoff ready, but they're situational. They can have an hour where they don't do anything right, and then an hour where they're unstoppable because that's just how they are.
Right.
They got Vickers, and it's just. I'm looking at that secondary.
They don't use the fullback, though, do they?
Yeah, they're going to need to. It's because somebody's going to have to block to get these dudes.
Right. No, it helps.
They have to get to the
when
line.
your line sucks, you bolster your backfield. That's what that's about.
They got to get the Murray to the line of scrimmage somehow.
Right.
And so they got to come up with something. So, but I'm looking at the secondary. I mean, they went out of their way to beef it up, and now they got to get something out of it. I'm looking at Carr. Because he's the one that has...
Carr's a fucking stud,
man. Because he's
He really is.
Just like Newman.
Deshaun Jackson has no idea.
Yeah, because like Newman carried that defense for a while.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was good.
He got Roy Williams paid.
Right.
He kept Roy Williams in the league for a while. Not the receiver. I'm talking about the.
I know the safety. We know.
Don't let
Roy Williams a third or whatever.
We're trying to.
Right.
We're trying to keep this short. Then I won't even hate Roy Williams.
Right.
But I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Carr.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. I'll go with Claiborne. I mean, from the
Rookie.
perspective of
From
Louisiana State University.
LSU.
Because he's obviously talented, but
He's not healthy though.
No, he's not healthy.
He's healthy enough.
Dallas has a way of putting unnecessary pressure on people. So like if he misses a game early, and then he comes back and he gets burned for a touchdown, it's like make sure he can handle all that drama. I mean, yes,
but
he
you
played
get
for
it,
LSU,
and you get it the same degree. Exactly. You're right. No, it's a great point. You get the same pressure.
Yeah.
So LSU fans are the worst. But the final team, and maybe the rankings, the last team,
perhaps
we go to the Redskins offensive MVP, Fred Davis for me. Rookie quarterbacks lean on their tight ends, and he's a pretty damn good one. He only played 12 games last year, but 60 catches, 59 catches, 796 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I thought he had more than that, but
that was more on the offense being horrible than him being bad.
But he's a stud at that position, and I'm sorry, Art, I had to bring him up, but
yeah, Frederick Davis, I'm fine with that. But I'm gonna go with RG3 because we need him to at least kind of hit in the range of where we want him to be.
Ignore Shanahan is what he
ignore Shanahan. Just have
call your own plays.
Right.
Just have a B.
Just smarter, I promise.
Yeah, just have like a B- type season. We'll give you 3 or 4 games to where somebody just baits you into a couple bad plays, or the pressure is a little bit too strong in a place where you don't like the pressure coming at, or those type of situations.
Off. I mean, he's got world class speed. People forget that.
But I think they'll do a lot of Vic contain methods to try to.
And I hope so, because I want him to throw the ball, and I think he wants to throw the ball. That might be his problem in his progression, because he will be like, okay, I can't run. I want to.
And so, but I'm counting on him to just have if he has a decent season, I think they have a rat face saving type season.
Right.
Which to me is 8-8.
Garcon, what you got?
Oh, Garcon's a good one, but I got to go with RG3. Getting on the ball.
Same reasons,
Yeah, and
because he lit up UT. Is that what?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah, he's not alone.
No, right. No, they're a top 5.
And that was uncalled for.
They're a top 5 defense, and they will be this year. National. So,
but I mean, and like I said, to expand upon what I said earlier about not being worried about RG3. He could get benched halfway through the season with 14, 15 picks, but he's not going to take it the wrong way.
Right.
He would learn from it.
Head on his shoulders.
So even if he starts
squarely
off badly,
not
worried about it.
Right.
But it'd be interesting to see if he just takes the lead by storm.
Right. No, and I'd rather see a guy like that than Cam Newton do that.
Yeah.
And I think we all agree. Defensively, I love this guy. I think he's the most underrated player ever to play in the NFL. London Fletcher.
Go ahead.
I mean, come on. He's 38, and he had 166 tackles a year ago, and 2 interceptions, and 2 Pro Bowls, I think, maybe. Notice this guy. He's a wonderful fucking football player, and it's him. I don't care what team. It's him. It's London Fletcher, and that's it. That's all. 15 seasons of dominance at that position. And I think maybe we all agree. You knew where I was going. And
that's what I got.
Yeah, I can't imagine anyone else.
I think he's their best defensive player, but if you want to talk more X factor, I'd go with D'Angelo Hall.
Angelo Hall,
who has not really been playing. Last season wasn't so good for him.
He made some picks though.
Yeah, a few, but
he got paid off of getting Cutler to throw him for.
Certainly did.
Right.
Yes, and a couple for touchdowns, but that was Cutler then. What do we have in Cutler now? But so D'Angelo Hall.
Yeah, I'll go with him.
All right,
D'Angelo.
But I can't say enough about London Fletcher. I really can't.
Still on the team?
Oh yeah.
He's starting right in the middle. Oh, D'Angelo, certainly,
right.
yeah.
Angelo's still on the team.
So number 10, we do our fantasy every week.
Interesting.
Top at each position, and I'll start. And I think Art will probably agree, but he doesn't want me to say it. But quarterback, I'm a Romo apologist, so he puts up the stats, and for me, he's the guy to get. But the weapons have been thinned out a little bit with Robertson gone, but draft Eli, draft Vic, but only expect 12 games, and then
draft RG3.
Definitely draft RG3. Steal him and smile.
I need him to not have any 57-yard touchdowns anywhere in the body of this damn preseason where I can get him when I want to get him, like double-digit round.
Right?
Like
no,
11.
steal him and start him. I mean, honestly,
But
RG3 could start for you. I think
he's going in like the 10th round.
His wheels are there. He's gonna run too.
Yeah. Having the running ability of Vic and RG3, could make them. Vic has been basically the top fantasy QB in the past.
Right.
But I'll stick with Eli, and kind of the.
He quietly gets it done, just like that team.
Consistent 300
just
yards,
like that team,
and 2 touchdowns. Yeah.
I mean, just like that team is just a quiet success.
Yeah. Now the thing about Eli is I don't know. They got to be better, right? I mean, they were last year. They drafted back. They're going to use DJ Ware more. And if Bradshaw gets acting a fool, they'll throw him off the cliff.
I love David Wilson. I do.
So
I do.
I'm thinking they're going to be better at running the ball, which means there'll be less third and fourth quarter Eli chunking the ball everywhere. And I think people are going to go out of their way to try to put a clamp. And right now we got Knicks is PP'd, I believe, and Hickson is the heavyweight champion of finding a new way to get hurt and miss a whole season. So,
right.
I mean, he invents injuries.
No, he does.
And so now you're talking about a lot of attention being on Victor Cruz, who we've loved for years, and it was about time for him to finally get it all together and have his.
Well, he blew up, and he was great, and he got hurt in that final preseason game, and he couldn't. That was it. That was the season.
Yeah, because, I mean, you're talking 1,500
yards. That's why I remember.
Yeah,
like Colston wearing 12. But
well, there you go. Like 1,500 yards in like 12 games. This is ridiculous.
And running back in this division, it's
struggling with that.
He's a top 3 pick. It's McCoy.
Well, yeah,
I mean, but after that, obviously avoid anything in Washington.
Yeah,
just avoid it. Handcuff Murray and Jones for me.
Oh my goodness.
And handcuff Bradshaw and Wilson.
If
you get one, get the other. But McCoy. If you get him in the top 5, because he catches out of the backfield, he does it all for that team.
He should be.
It's McCoy, and he's managed to stay healthy. And I hope I just jinxed him. So
horrible,
because he's our competition in the NFC. So
yep, McCoy's a good one.
Yeah, it's McCoy, right? I mean,
go ahead.
Absolutely.
Okay,
move on.
All right, so receiver. This is really, really tough. It's really tough. But since Knicks is hurt, I'm going with Cruz.
Same here.
And the salsa dance is on.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's barely over Austin. I love Miles Austin.
I don't trust
Staying
Miles.
healthy. Right. That's a big part of it.
The sexy pick here is Garcon.
No. He's drafted. You obviously drafted 2 in Philly, Deshaun Jackson and Macklin.
Do you?
You draft them both, and you start them both. You do. You start them both.
Maybe Macklin, yes, but
Deshaun's he's comfortable now. I don't like him either. He's not babysitting my kids, but he can start my fantasy team.
I mean,
and then Garcon is the full-on dark horse for me. And what I saw in just that one drive that he played with his camaraderie with
like
RG3,
boom, boom, boom.
It was all 5 catches and a touchdown. I mean, and he was separating himself. He looked better than he ever did. So yes, Garcon is a late. I'm not sure where he's going to go. I'm not going to draft. Well, we will in 2 weeks, but for someone else.
What?
But he might be the steal of the draft at receiver. But yeah, Cruz is the guy. He's going to get catches. He's going to get yards. He's not going away. Mm-hmm. He's motivated even on his own right. So yeah, it's Cruz. Everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You better not draft Deshaun Jackson early if you do it, people.
Right. Stern luck.
Don't do it. Because you'll remember what I told you when he hit you with that 2-catch, 19-yard game on a week where you really need him. Like, that's what I don't like.
That's why I don't play fantasy.
Yeah, but I don't like him from a consistency standpoint.
Speaking of that, tight end, the consistency is not really. But with this guy, it is. It's Jason Witten. for me. And I know I've pretty much blown Fred Davis off.
That's why I'm rolling with Fred.
But it's slightly over because of Romo's love affair with Witten. And I love RG3, but maybe I do see a Pierre Garçon love affair.
At some point, you think that Garçon might get taken away, and then when they start taking away, your first option is let me find my tight end. Mm-hmm. And you find your tight end in the middle of the year. Always. He's gonna be the guy to find.
No, I agree.
I got Davis too.
Yeah,
I got Davis. My problem with Witten is that I watch those games where
he's ready.
Yeah, Witten is getting older and slower by the day, and that those games where he has to block the whole game, and it's the middle of the fourth quarter, and he has like one catch for 8 yards, but the Cowboys are down by 10. So Romo just starts throwing it to him every play, and then he accidentally breaks a tackle, and then he gets like 50 yards on one catch, and then you get to the end of the game, and it's like 4 catches, 82 yards, and everybody, oh, Jason Witten, woo! Right. And it's like, I watched the game, I was dying. I had that dude, I was cussing.
Part of the offense.
I was cussing the whole game because I didn't see it.
He's still a stud for me, but and Cooley's moved to fullback. I think he'll still be. I think that's just a paper thing. He'll still play in dual tight end situations, and I love me some Tom Selleck, Brent Selleck.
Yeah.
And if Vic actually is watching film, like they say he has, he'll see that Selleck was wide open on so many goddamn plays last year. And so he's the dark horse at that position for me. And honestly, I'd steal him. I'd pick him in the 16th round and start him. But I don't play this anymore, so who cares? But defensively, I'll lead this one too. It's Dallas, mainly because Des Bryant's still returning punts, and they have Felix Jones returning kicks. And just like last week, it was special teams for me that was the difference. Because Deshaun Jackson, they don't have him on the depth chart anymore for returning punts and kicks in Philly. So that's the main reason. So if he's back there returning punts, sure, Philly gets elevated.
Right.
But Ware gives you sacks. Claiborne's going to give you picks. And then the cherry on the top is Des Bryant, Felix Jones returning the ball.
Yep.
So
it makes sense. But I'm gonna assume I'm taking the Philly angle.
No,
and assuming that Philly's gonna score a lot of points and they're gonna put a lot of pressure on people's offense to try to score to keep up with them. And this defense is gonna be ready for that. And I think they're just gonna have a better year. So I'm rolling.
And we'll get to where you think they're going to finish in the next question.
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be unhappy with
he picked Miami last week, so I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's going to pick the Redskins or something.
No. I'd be happy with either Philly or Dallas, but I think I'd have to give the edge to Dallas.
It makes sense. I just don't trust
I'll put logic to it, so. And then
I'm a woman scorer on Dallas, so I'm taking a hard angle against
him. Oh, no, I'd love to hate him, but I also live to acknowledge him. But number 11, final question. Final standings in this division. And I don't know how to really do this because normally we're on the same page, and I think we are, but maybe we're not as far as number of wins. Maybe that's what we are on the same page, but it's the
well, let's find out.
Right. Okay, so we probably all agree. Well, you have no, maybe not. You have number 4. We'll go 4 to 1.
Go with the order you want, and then we'll
go 4 to 1. Number 4, I have the Redskins, but I do have them winning 8 games because mainly RG3 is going to carry this team, and the defense is going to carry this team.
But I got them also in last, but at 7 and 9.
Okay,
that makes right around the right amount of sense. I think if RG3 is healthy, because we haven't even talked about that, and I hope that doesn't happen to him. And I feel like they drafted a running back to use him, so maybe they'll be a little bit better running the ball too, because they were down.
What's this running back y'all talking about? But keep going. I'm going to check this out. I don't know what y'all are talking about.
He's going to end up being the starter, and unless Shanahan pulls a Shanahan. So the thing I'm going to focus on for all of these guys, because these divisions are so tight, is when it gets to that last month and all of them got 5 or 6 wins, and they need to have a good run to get them in the playoffs. That last month is going to be brutal for them, because this year they got NFC South, so there's a couple of ass whoopings coming their way, and they got AFC North. And then obviously
Baltimore.
with the NFC South, it depends on where you get Atlanta. Because if you get Atlanta in Atlanta at the right time of the year, you're probably screwed. So I have.
So you have them last.
I have them last going 8-8. But let's look at this last month: home Giants, home Ravens, at Browns, at Eagles, at home Cowboys. Not bad.
Right. So,
but
last, how many wins?
8-8.
Okay, that's where I got him 7-9.
Mm-hmm.
Third, and this is, I got the Giants third. I really do. Eight wins, and they won 12 after their prior Super Bowl win, but the schedules that I see it. My first question was based on how I don't credit this team, and I don't see it either. Tough schedule, and they caught fire. 8-8.
Yeah.
Giants, number 3 for me.
That's exactly where I have them too.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm pissed at them for beating us twice in recent
And
Super
that's
Bowls,
fair.
but you know,
Right.
still.
But you put logic behind it.
Yes.
Right. And, all right, 8.
Yep, I got them right around the same place.
You got Dallas down now, though.
But I was gonna let you have that. Cause I'm gonna be harsh on the Cowboys in a minute. But I got the Giants right around 8-8 too. They got to be better running the ball because they got to go out of their way to do it to try to get some attention off these receivers.
Right.
But I don't know what we're gonna get from that secondary. They're gonna be giving up the big love every time. But what they normally do is they have a month in the middle of the season where they're horrible, and then they have that month at the
December's
end.
normally when they suck, and then
They make the run to
this
save
past year they
Coughlin's
didn't.
job.
Oh, but they're gonna have to be like 7-2 because at Skins,
No, their schedule's brutal.
at Skins, Saints, at Falcons, at Ravens, and then they close against the Eagles.
Yeah,
That's horrendous.
and they
So
have
they're
the
gonna
bull-
lose.
and they have the bullseye at Super Bowl.
Yeah, they're gonna
champs.
lose 3 or 4 of those games, most likely.
So shit. Second, I have 9 wins for Dallas.
Yeah,
So do I.
yeah,
This is
Bromance.
the approach.
yeah. Well, y'all are bromance, and
Yeah. But I think it gets.
This is despite the offensive.
I think it gets Jason Garrett fired, but it's 9 wins.
Yeah.
And it won't get him in the playoffs because
Yeah.
I assume Atlanta or the Chicago, Detroit going to win more games
Yes.
to get that wild card because we're winning our division. And
yes, yeah. They don't got to call it stealing.
Right,
It's
right.
gonna be taken.
Right. So
Outright.
Dallas,
Yeah.
I have 9-7. Yeah, missing the playoffs. Jason Garrett, call it a day. Jerry, here's my number. Call me. Let's talk.
I think with the Cowboys, they tend to do things big. So I think they're gonna take a big shit this year. If they go 500, I'm gonna be shocked.
Right.
I think it's gonna be
Really
course,
bad.
Of
You have
course,
them last.
Of course, they could go 10-6, and I could be totally wrong. And Dez Bryant will have his mama hugging her at the game.
After he punches her?
They'll be high fiving, and she'll be down there. She'll be up there with Jerry, and I could be totally wrong, but it just seems like this is the year where it's all lined up for things to finally go really bad. Not kind of sort of bad. Not, if such and such wouldn't have got hurt, we would have been good. They're going to just show up and be bad.
Right.
And that's what I think.
So,
and then their first month is at Giants, at Seahawks, Bucks, and Bears.
because Seahawks can beat them, by the way.
Yeah, so they
And the
get
Bears
their
are
first.
better than people think.
I mean, they could go in. They could be 0-4 at
Right.
the end of the first month.
No, and that's kind of where we.
And then their last month
They finish, yeah.
is Eagles at Bengals, Steelers, Saints, and at Skins.
Yeah, we're gonna beat their ass.
That's a lot of ass
Even-
whoopings, man.
There's a Christmas present right under the tree. So one, obviously Philly. How many wins you got?
I have 10.
10. I got
Yeah.
9 too.
Yeah.
But they'll make the playoffs. Obviously, they won the division.
Yes.
But they can do what the Giants did a year ago. They certainly have the talent to do that.
Yeah, I'm feeling the bounce back from the Eagles. Last year they were everybody's sexy Super Bowl pick,
right.
and
Yeah.
they,
Well, dream team, haha.
dream team shit.
I want them to
Fifth
succeed because I don't know, Chris. I don't know if you listen to this, but brother-in-law, I love you, and I know you're a big Eagles fan, and I've been an Eagles fan my whole life, and I want them to be successful. I love Andy Reid. I love the whole tragedy turning into success.
That's what I
story. And I need leadership on this team. I do, and I don't see it. I don't see it yet.
We're going to see. I think the things that might fall into place for them, and they probably needed to have that horrible season last year to get them ready for what could be a really good season this year. We're talking about a division that's up and down. You talk about divisions where all these teams can kind of take a crap. But look, they got the Ravens at home in week 2. So I mean, we're talking about these divisions we're talking about these games that they all have to play and where they're getting them.
Right.
They got the Falcons at home.
They are the Falcons. They're the better bird in that battle.
And it's after the bye.
They're the better bird in that.
Yes.
Andy Reid is unbeatable at their bye.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Falcons at home after the bye. So that's one loss that they're not going to have that these other three teams might eat.
Right.
And then their last month is the best one. It's at Cowboys, at Bucks, Bengals, Skins, and at Giants.
No, they won in the division. It's just a matter of how many wins.
I think everything is lined up. If they don't win this division, they need to look at Andy Reid with a thrown off look and say,
well, no, but what did he say? My son just. But you know, we addressed the leadership stuff, and I love Andy, but
at some point they got to pull him in the room and say, Andy, look, man, dude, this not winning thing. We always had a story.
Get a Super Bowl.
This not winning thing. We're kind of done with you not winning.
To end this, I had an ironic post: is all the quarterbacks dropping, Vic dropping, Kafka dropping. The best free agent available out there is McNabb. Yeah.
Have you seen him?
Do we call Donovan? No, of course they won't. And that ends the NFC East preview of the Jonesin and the Whim. But
I hope
if you listen to this and not listen to the other one, refer to our normal podcast, which is also going to be wonderful. NFC East in the books.
Right.
Woo. I hope Donovan's been eating sensible dinners, because if not, that's a bad call for anybody to call. We'll see.
Donovan's fine. Come on. The Texans should sign him, but they won't because of the Shanahan hate.
Everybody likes Cheetos.
And that delicious.
Quite delicious.
The barbecue. I need to introduce you to the Cheetos that we have in New Orleans, but it's barbecue flavor, French onion. We have like varieties of. Yeah, I'm telling you.
I don't like
Come on,
baked Cheetos.
Take a trip with me for once and enjoy the fried variety,
the savory snacks.
I mean, it's the best shit ever. It really is wonderful. I'm not even kidding.
It's clear that you're not kidding.
It's time. I'm trying to think of the brand. I'm overthinking it now, but Brad and I Brad's fat because of them. It's so good.
You can't sing aloud reasons why. I love you, Brad, but come on.
They're so good.